Her daughter had never moved. Not once. Not a finger. Not a toe. 17 months on this earth, and the only proof of life was the breathing, that small chest rising and falling, while the rest of her lay perfectly, permanently still. Leah had stopped counting the days. Before the birth, neighbors visited. Women brought bread, sat with her, talked about ordinary things. Leah had been part of it, not warmly, not fully. She was Philistine in a Jewish village, and that gap politeness could bridge but never close. Still, there had been visits. Then Asha came and the visits stopped. She understood. She had seen their faces the first time they looked into the blanket. That careful stillness. The look that said, "This is a sign, and we do not want to be near the sign." The physician from Caesarea came once. Pressed and measured. His conclusion took 30 seconds. The child will not walk. Will not speak. Will not use her hands. He left. His wax tablet sat on the table for a week before Leah threw it into the fire. She had prayed to her gods. All the rituals, the correct words, the correct hour, the offerings. She had burned oil and grain, and once, desperately, a carved figure her mother had given her at her wedding. Nothing came back. Not silence. Silence implies something listening. This was the feeling of speaking into a room and slowly understanding the room was empty. That whatever she had believed was there had, at some point she couldn't identify, simply never been. She stopped praying. She started carrying Asha into the sun every afternoon instead. Singing old Philistine songs badly, quietly, because she had decided that whatever Asha could not do, she would feel warmth. She would know there was a world beyond the ceiling she stared at. It wasn't faith. It wasn't hope. It was the last thing a woman does when everything else is gone. She heard about Yeshua the way she heard about everything late, second-hand, filtered through people who weren't speaking to her directly. A Jewish healer. A teacher from Nazareth. The paralyzed walking, the blind seeing. She felt nothing when she heard this. Jewish miracle workers were not for her. She was Philistine enemy blood, wrong prayers, wrong gods, wrong everything. Even if the stories were true, there was no version of this where he stopped for her. She had been invisible to the right people her entire life. She expected nothing different now. He came through the village on a Thursday. She was in the courtyard, Asha against her chest, singing the old song about the sea. She heard the crowd before she saw it, voices, footsteps, the energy of people moving towards something. She glanced through the gate and saw them passing and looked away. Then the crowd slowed. She didn't know why. The bodies shifted and the gate cleared, and suddenly she could see the road. A man had stopped on it. He was looking directly at her. Not past her. Not in her general direction, at her face with an expression she had no category for. Not pity. Not the careful blankness of people who didn't know where to look. Something more direct. Something that said, "I see exactly what I am looking at and I am not looking away." Leah did not move. The man walked through the gate. His disciples came with him, tense, uncertain, exchanging looks that said, "This is not the plan and someone should say something and it won't be me." The large one stopped at the gate and crossed his arms. Yeshua crouched down in front of her. Not standing over her. Crouching eye level, the way you position yourself when you want someone to understand you are not above them. He looked at Asha. At the eyes that were already finding his face, that searching, present, trapped intelligence looking out from a body that would not answer it. What is her name? Asha. He was quiet a moment. She knows your step, he said. When you come into the room before she sees you, she already knows. Leah's throat closed. She hears the old songs, he continued. She knows them now. She could not speak. He looked up at her, then at whatever was visible in her face, and said, "You prayed for a long time, and nothing answered." Not an accusation. A fact, offered gently, the way you offer something heavy to someone who has been carrying it alone. "Yes," she said. "And still you came outside today. Still you hold her in the sun." She said nothing. "May I hold her?" She didn't know why she said yes. She hadn't let anyone hold Asha except Daniel. But something in the way he asked, not reaching, not assuming, simply asking, as if the answer genuinely could have been no, made her place the child in his arms. He held her the way people hold children when they know how. Asha's head in the crook of his elbow. Secure. He looked at her face and his lips moved, something private, between him and whatever he spoke to. The disciples went quiet. The crowd at the gate pressed closer, but no one entered. Then the air changed. It happened at the edges first, subtle enough that Leah almost dismissed it. A quality of light that shouldn't have been there, the sun being where it was. Not brighter. Fuller. As if the ordinary afternoon light had a layer beneath it that was now becoming visible. She felt it before she saw it, a warmth that had nothing to do with temperature, a pressure like standing near something vast that was choosing to be gentle. She looked up. They were there. Not clearly, not the way a face or a hand is clear. More the way you see something at the edge of a fire, present and shifting, real in a way that bypassed every question she might have asked about what real meant. Around him. Around the child in his arms. Arranged with a purpose she could feel but not name. She looked at her hands instead. She was shaking. One of the disciples had stepped backward without meaning to. The large one at the gate had uncrossed his arms. Nobody spoke. Yeshua closed his eyes, and Asha moved. Her right hand first. The fingers curling slowly, with the quality of something inevitable finally arriving, a door long sealed swinging open on its own weight. The fist closed around Yeshua's finger and Leah made a sound she had no name for. Then the left hand. Then the feet, those small perfect feet that had never kicked, flexing now, the toes spreading, the ankles turning with the wondering delight of new machinery discovering itself. Asha's head turned. Under her own power. Toward her mother's face. And the eyes that had always been present but imprisoned were present and free, present and arriving, present in a way they had never been before. Yeshua opened his eyes. He looked at the child moving in his arms, and his expression was not triumph. It was quieter than that. The look of a man watching something return to its right place. "Take her," he said. Leah took her daughter. Asha's hands went immediately to her mother's face, both palms flat against her cheeks, fingers spreading into her hair, with the urgent exploring certainty of someone who had always known this face and could now finally reach it. Leah pressed her forehead against the baby's and could not speak and did not try. Yasha stood. She looked up at him. She thought of the empty room, the carved figure in the fire, every prayer that had gone nowhere. She thought of the temple floor in Ashdod, cold against her forehead, and how she had pressed herself into it and felt nothing press back. "Who are you?" she asked. He looked at her a moment. "You already know," he said. "You've known since I walked through the gate." She had. In the same place she had known the room was empty, that same deep knowing, but reversed. Not absence. Presence. Specific and personal and impossible to argue with. She shifted Asha to one arm, and lowered herself to her knees in the dust of her own courtyard. A Philistine woman. Enemy blood. Wrong prayers, wrong gods, wrong everything, kneeling in the dirt with her moving, reaching, living daughter against her chest. She didn't know the ritual. Didn't know the right words. She said the only true thing she had, "I didn't believe you existed." "I know," he said. Quietly. Without judgment. A pause. "But here you are." He left with the crowd. The courtyard held the after feeling of what had moved through it the way air holds the charge after lightning, clarified, still vibrating at the edge of something. Daniel came home at dusk to find his wife sitting in the dark, their daughter moving against her chest. He stood in the doorway and understood without being told that everything was different. He came and sat beside her without asking how. They stayed there while the stars came out. Asha's hands kept moving. Kept reaching. Touching her mother's face, touching the dark air, touching the edge of a world that had opened without warning and without condition and without asking first whether she deserved it. Outside, the news was already moving door to door. Inside, there was only this. A mother. A child who would not stop reaching. And a woman who had stopped believing in everything, kneeling in the dust of her own courtyard, holding the only answer she had ever needed. Not a doctrine. Not a ritual. Not a temple floor pressed cold against her forehead. A Thursday afternoon. A man who walked through her gate. And two hands, finally free.